Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about, lo and behold, another tech magic wonder. And of course, today we're talking about Topix. Now, for a disclaimer, in the first 30 seconds of the video, I was sent Topix by Sébastien because he had seen what I've done. We've crossed paths before. He subscribed to the channel, whatever the reasoning is. And he said, hey man, would you mind checking this out? And would you give us a review? And I said, yeah. At no point have I agreed to say whether it's good or bad, to send this video out before I make it, or 3, be a really good boy and link to whatever and give them lots of sales, or be a total asshole and say this sucks. I'm happy to say I don't have to be a total asshole and say this sucks, which is really great. This is a really cool little app, but it's not an app traditional on the phone, and I don't mean that in the way of like some of these shortcuts projects. It's like, it's not an app, but it really is because it's part of the shortcuts app. No, this is not an app on your phone at all. It's not dependent on iOS or Android. It works for both as the person experiencing the effect as well as the person, getting the peak, getting the information. I think iPhone is a better situation because I've got an Apple Watch peak I've built for this, which is really great, and we'll go into that here shortly. But above all else, we're going to go into what I love, what I hate, and what I can see as being some improvement that I think is already in the works for the Topix app. But before we get into that, obviously, let's go ahead and, roll that intro. Alright guys, Topix. This is pretty cool. So Topix is just one of those, you can't plug your nose and exhale and shoot a booger across the room without hitting somebody that's made a magic app anymore. And some of them are really good, some of them are really crap. Luckily, I've been blessed to have really good ones so far, whether we're talking Outdated, which I just did a review for by, Mystery PK, or talking Wiki Test by Mark Kirsten, or Earworm, or Inject, which I'm a brand new adopter of. I know some of you are like, Jake, you just got Inject? It's like fucking ancient at this point. Well, yeah, I know. But it took me a while to wrap my head around really wanting it. But now that I'm getting into it, it's really great. But tech is one of those things that in Magic, there's just such an overabundance of anymore. Which, is that a good thing? Or is that a bad thing? I don't really know. I don't have all the answers. I just, sit here and stand up, be a handsome lad. But what we're going to go into today is looking at Topix from the ground up. So first off, let's go ahead and take a look at our UI where we've got everything. This is kind of how it lives. So on my phone, it lives. It's not an app, but it looks like it. I've got it set up to look like an app on my phone. So you can see here I've got my little app stack with my various quick whatever's in it. But if we go, say, to Topix settings, for example, I click that and it opens into this. So this is actually a web browser. You totally goes in a web browser, but I've added onto the home screen so that it's pretty much like a web-based app. It's a web app versus a shortcut or anything like that. Like we're seeing a lot of coming out now from like Black Mirror Project and other creative things coming out. So there's a lot in this. You can turn it on or off right here, which is a gripe I'm going to go into later. So I can toggle on or off. We've got our settings, notifications in here. We do have some API, but not fully the API I want yet, which I think is coming with the webhooks function, which I'm really excited about. Instructions are really nicely done. They're in French and in English, and they're pretty comprehensive. Pretty much, it takes you no time flat to get this going. The other thing that's super cool, you aren't going to have to say, oh, let me see your phone. I'm going to search for something. You don't have to do that. I can do this over Zoom. I can do this over whatever, and over the phone even, and still know exactly what it is they're going to be looking at in a moment. Here's the other thing. They don't have to click on, say, the image they have. Let me kind of show you really quick, actually. So what this utilizes, let's go to, tell them to go to openart.pix. This is like a stock photography site that has some nice looking photos on it. Just tell them to go here, sort of like what we do at Genius and something like Ellipse, which you haven't seen Ellipse. God dang it, it's a good app. I can't remember if Sebastian's associate that or not, but it's a super good app. Ellipse is one of the best underutilized things in Magic and Mentalism, and keep it that way. Keep it hush hush because it's super good. But let's say they search for, say, fat cats. Boom, they search. And, you tell them, like, hey, look, you could type in fat cats, for example. You see some of the cats are fat, but it's kind of generalized. So you might want to start either very specific and then go for something really refined from there, or you might want to start with something more ambiguous and start from there. But either way, I'm having you now search your own thing. So they do. So let's say they go and do one of my favorite subjects to search for, which is, of course, the Soviet Union. Yes, I'm a big history buff, and I love Soviet and communist history. It's just super fascinating. Not a believer myself, but interests me beyond belief. So lots of imagery in there, right? So let's say they search this, and they're going to go in and find their propaganda photo to try and send to you, right? They scroll through, and let's say that they pick this nice, sexy picture here of the Ukrainian disaster. I know that because the Ferris wheel is a very iconic image from, Ukraine. And you say, great, it's great. If you got it in mind, perfect. Do me a favor, can you show it to somebody else? And of course they go, oh, yes, of course. And they have to scroll back through and find their dilapidated little Ferris wheel. And with that, in about 10 or 15 seconds, I will know, without them clicking on it, what image it is that they're thinking of. Super cool, right? This is great. If they do click on it, there's so much more we can do, right? So I've got all the notifications turned off currently, but I can see clearly on my watch, for example, what it is that they're looking at easily and effective by running the shortcut I've created for it. And some of you are undoubtedly going to want this shortcut, and I will give it to you. Do not worry. It's in the Topix group already. I've made it in there. So just click download and then follow the instructions, and you've got it. So anyway, you know exactly what it is they've got, whether you're going to do it through here or there's other really cool ways to figure it out. So let's go out of here, and let's say instead we went to the drawing app, right? Say, yeah, I'm going to try and, in a moment, try and draw what it is I'm seeing from you and be very specific with just a tap of the home screen. Boom. Oh, this is the other image, I guess. So maybe this one didn't come through because I've already searched it once. Here's the other cool thing. Once they've searched an image, it kind of closes it out. You can tell I've already done this video once, but you can now trace, for example, a rough outline around that image and then turn it off, present it to them and say, hey, do you think, does this make sense? And they go, oh, but how? And then you've also obviously got up here, what is the thinking of the Soviet Union, what they've searched for. You can see that in the search terms, communism, communist hammer. You've got all that stuff. It's pretty cool. But there's also other ways you can catch this. You can also catch it directly, from the URL that I have open up on the Apple Watch to show what it is they're thinking of. There's a lot of ways you can catch peaks. And from my understanding, which I have no sway or influence on this, so please don't ask. There's going to be webhooks functions coming soon, like you're seeing here, which, to my understanding, will allow you to integrate this in with certain things like, I'm sure, Inject, which is super popular to integrate in, maybe QR Genie, maybe Hydra, lots of other cool stuff. This is kind of in its bare bones right now of what it can do, and it's only getting better over time. So if you invest now before they kind of realize what they've got is super good and they raise the price, you're going to get more bang for your buck. Forced contents are kind of interesting. So you can also set here to have a few different forces relating to tags, to downloads, the amount of downloads, the likes counter, the author. So what's cool is you could then springboard like Peter Turner kind of thinking on this and have somebody else say, hey, look at the image they're thinking of, look at all the information. Is there like a number on there you can latch onto? Okay, can you latch onto that? Is that, is there 4 digits in that, or 4 or 5, are there 4 digits in that you can latch onto? Whatever, and then you can turn to a pin reveal and say, hey, just refer to this. When I say to your pin, this is the number I'm referring to because I don't want to give away your actual pin code. And there's some cool stuff you can do in there, right? Very sick stuff. Trick settings, you can customize a lot of stuff here on how long it takes for that cookies image to pop up you saw earlier. That is the thing that basically they focus on their image. Cookies image, they rearranges everything, and then they scroll through and see it again. Boom. It calculates what it is they're actually thinking of. I don't know the science behind it. I'm just a poor idiot. But there's a lot basically in here for Topix, and I do believe this to be a really worthwhile app to invest in. My experience performing it has been basically that it's great, it works, it floors people when they experience it. because they have no idea how in the hell were you able to pluck that image out of my head. Whether using the drawing function, whether using just a verbal reveal, whatever it is, there's a lot here to unpack, and people really love the drawing duplication anyway. So it's definitely one of those things I would say if you're somebody that's a modern mentalist looking for, you know, the perfect kind of drawing duplication effect that, you know, fits in your pocket and is something that's always you have on you, this is it. This is one more thing you can take billets out of the play for, not to carry around a stack of billets. And I really love that about this, that I can now do the drawing duplication in a way that I'm satisfied with, that feels really good, and also being somebody that's a videographer that has photography skills, this plays into my world super well too, which I you know, again, that just is an extra bonus for me. So, you know, this is, I believe, 49 euros. I don't know what it translates to in US dollars or whatever. Would I have paid for this? And did I almost pay for this before Sebastian reached out? Of course. It was really, I was that close. I was just waiting for a few more reviews. I was waiting for this review, honestly, to invest and say, this is worthwhile, this is cool. But that being said, it's not all rainbows, butterflies, unicorn farts, and hipsters professionally cut eyebrow, whatever the fuck I'm gonna say. But it's not all great. There is a couple things I don't like. This thing has screwed me before, and it screwed me before in this way. And I don't know why. Maybe there's an answer for this, but I have randomly tried to do Topix on someone's phone, and then I find out I'm not getting any of my normal notifications I get from Telegram to tell me that it's synced up and everything. I don't feel the buzzes in my pocket, and I'm going, what's going on here? And find out that it's off. And I don't know why. It just sometimes seems to automatically turn off. Maybe this is an error that's been fixed, but I know today before I made this video, which is the third time I made this video because I keep having issues with my phone connecting to my software, not this software, not Topix, but communication, my computer and my phone. I keep having those issues, but I did notice when I turned it on initially today that Topix was off when it needed to be on. That's huge. It needs to work. Now, the cool thing too is, I will say this, on the flip side of that, you don't have to worry about anybody kind of discovering what you're doing or looking at the code. This has been performed on a web engineer, web designer by me remotely over Zoom, and I basically had to do the same function I showed you guys. I had him search fat cats, and he was none the wiser. He did not catch on to how this works or anything like that. So I think that's really cool to think about right there. Overall, I recommend Topix. I think it's only growing. It's only getting better. As soon as they incorporate things like Nameforge in here and stuff like that too, and QR Genie, a few other things, it's going to be even better than it is. I'm old school and very simple. I like things to be just, hey, bro, sir, bring this thing up, picture it in your mind. This is what it is. I like it to be kind of that because it's simple, it's direct, and there's not a lot of complexities to it. Somebody out there might want this to be something where it's the image they thought of appears in your QR Genie. That's too perfect for me, but for those of you that want this for that, that's coming soon. For those of you that want it just the bare bones like I do, I want it to be a drawing duplication. I want it to be a mind-reading effect. This is really killer. It's already at that stage, and it's reliable, and it's good. The only unreliableness I've found is that one issue I said I have where sometimes it seems like it's turned off, and I've got Topix settings on one button press to pull this up and make sure it's on before I move into performing it. And the cool thing is the person's locked out from finding all that stuff afterwards. It just is a normal, completely ordinary stock footage site once you've done the effect once, and it's disengaged, which is really cool. So all that being said, I would recommend you check this out. If you aren't familiar with it, you can go down below and actually check out on the site some of the main things, the trailer, a few other things on there. I think the copy is very honest. It's telling you exactly what it is, and I can't report any bad things about it so far other than that on-off situation. I'm just excited to see it get more integrations. Hopefully do a follow-up video eventually talking about what they've added into this thing, because I think it's got a lot more potential than it currently has. But there are some things I'd like to see added in. All that being said, that's all I've got for you on this one. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you aren't subscribed already, I highly suggest you do, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.